I'm very pleased to say I'm joined by Dominic Grieve, former Attorney General, of course, and a key mover in the most recent Brexit developments, working on, among other things, the Benn Act, of course, to try and stop no deal at the end of October. We've heard from the government a few sounds, noises, that they think maybe there are holes in the Benn Act and that they can still get a no-deal Brexit at the end of October. Are you concerned about that?
I'm always vigilant, but I think the Benn Act is fit for purpose, and I'm very mindful of the fact that the government appears to be willing nowadays to put out rank disinformation. I think either for the purpose of trying to destabilise the people who are seen to be promoting the Benn Act, or possibly as part of their EU negotiations.
So it's misinformation that there are holes in it. You think it's robust?
I think it's robust. Now, of course, I'm vigilant, and I'm perfectly aware of the fact that legislation you can sometimes find loopholes in. But we've identified one obvious one, which is the Civil Contingencies Act, but trying to use that would be an astonishing and frankly outrageous act by the government. They've now said that's not the case. So we have to look at something else. And at the moment, I don't see what else could be done to prevent this act coming into operation if the Prime Minister doesn't have a deal to offer to Parliament as a result of the European Council.
So you're pretty confident that it stays in force. Is a vote of confidence coming, and if so, how quickly?
I see no reason to have a vote of confidence. The Benn Act does what is necessary to prevent no deal taking place on the 31st of October. Of course, thereafter, there are some difficult issues. What use do we make of the 3 months if we extend to the 31st of January that is then available? Now, one possibility is that we have a general election. That's very much dependent on whether Jeremy Corbyn is insistent on going ahead with one and the Prime Minister wants one. But it's very high risk, and I think the risk for all of us as a country, forget about the political parties, which should be secondary, we simply find in mid-December we're facing exactly the same issues with a divided Parliament with no majority. The better course would be to have a second referendum.
So a second referendum, but do you think we at some point end up with needing to put in place a government of national unity
That might be a way of holding a referendum. Of course, once the referendum's held, there would have to be a general election. The government of national unity could only be for that specific purpose. Now, I myself would be favourable to this and willing to support such a government of national unity, and I think potentially the numbers are there to deliver it. But it's very much dependent on whether the Labour Party leadership are prepared to back it and to accept the reality, which is it cannot be led by the leader of the opposition. It's not a criticism of him, but he has a highly partisan agenda, which he's entitled to hold, which is, in my view, incompatible with leading a government of national unity.
What if the price of their involvement was that it had to be led by Jeremy Corbyn?
I think it would make it impossible to bring such a government of national unity about.
And are you preparing? We understand that you've had death threats, and that you had death threats yesterday. I mean, how often does this happen? Is this part of being a member of Parliament now?
We certainly do get them, not very often. We tend to get abusive emails rather than one specifically suggesting we ought to be killed, which this one was. But they usually come as a direct result of some other thing that's going on. And in this case, I'm afraid, it was the extraordinary decision by somebody in number 10 Downing Street, described as an official, to tell the Mail on Sunday that a group of us were being investigated for colluding with foreign powers in drawing up the Benn Act, which is just a complete load of nonsense. You don't need a foreign government to draft UK legislation.
So
you go to the clerks of the House of Commons,
and
you go to the lawyers. So this is, and then linked to that, some other suggesting we were recipients of foreign money,
time has beaten
which is also seriously
Dominic Grieve,
wrong.
thank you very much, former Attorney General, here at the party conference.